China and Vietnam held their first high-level talks since the crisis began in early May. China sent its top diplomat to Hanoi on a one-day visit earlier this week, but it doesn't look as if either country is budging on its claims to the sea. The Chinese oil rig that sparked the standoff is still sitting in disputed waters. It is still surrounded by fleets of boats from both China and Vietnam, playing a high-seas game of chicken. The boats are still cutting each other off, ramming and shooting water cannons, and neither the Chinese diplomat nor his Vietnamese hosts sound ready for a deal. Here's China's CCTV. Its report will be followed by one from Vietnam's state-controlled TV network, VTV4.
And Yang's comments came as he met Vietnamese Foreign Minister Pham Minh Minh in Hanoi. And Yang says China is willing to work with Vietnam to push their comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership in a healthy direction. But he also called on Vietnam to stop its disruptive actions against the Chinese drilling operation near the Shisha Islands in the South China Sea. Since May the 2nd, there have been several clashes around the rig, with Vietnamese boats ramming Chinese Coast Guard vessels more than 1,400 times. And China says the Shisha Islands are its inherent territory and says that up until 1974, Vietnam officially recognized the area as coming under Chinese sovereignty before the country later switched its position.
Chinese State Councilor Yang Jiechi met with Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Pham Minh Minh in their capacity as chairman of the Vietnam-China Steering Committee for Bilateral Cooperation. Minh said that the Vietnam-China Comprehensive Strategic Cooperation Partnership has developed remarkably in recent years, thanks to both countries' efforts. However, China's placement of oil rig Hai Shu Yo 981 in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf has violated international laws and threatened peace and stability in the region, as well as maritime safety. He asked China to withdraw the rig and escort ships from Vietnam's water to come in line with international law and the 1982 UNCLOS. He added that the situation needed to be carefully controlled and that negotiations were needed to defuse the tension between the two countries. State Councilor Yang Jiechi said that the party, government and people of China attach importance to their friendship with Vietnam. He agreed that both nations should quickly stabilize the situation in the EC, exercise restraint to avoid conflict, prevent bilateral relations from worsening and work together to boost all-round cooperation. On the same day, Party General Secretary Nguyen and Prime Minister Nguyen Dung also had meetings with Yang Jiechi. They called for China to withdraw its oil rig and reiterated that both countries should continue negotiations to reduce tension, settle marine issues, and maintain exchanges and cooperation in order to maintain stable bilateral ties.
One of the problems both countries have is public opinion. Vietnamese have a long history of antagonism toward their giant neighbor. The anti-Chinese riots that rocked parts of the country last month are proof of that. And in China, the country's social media sites are full of harsh, even racist comments about Vietnam. We should teach these Vietnamese monkeys a lesson. They are only going to be obedient if we whip them, said this post. This Sina Weibo user wrote, "We've been persuading Vietnamese with patience for such a long period. It's time for us to slap them by the end of 2014. Another comment from an online news site read, "What's the use of our bombs? China only knows how to condemn now. In the past, we were very poor, yet dared to fight. Now, however, we have all kinds of aircraft and missiles, yet no longer dare to fight back. As soon as we bomb their Ministry of Defense, they will shut up and keep silent. If Vietnam does anything again, we will just throw an atomic bomb." The nationalistic Chinese newspaper Global Times published an interview with veterans from the Vietnam War. These old soldiers claim that they would all volunteer to join if a war starts. However, some social network users disapproved of such hyper-nationalistic sentiment and turned the debate toward the men and women who make up China's armed forces. On Ren, one user commented that war is a serious theme for our generation, since the soldiers belong to our generation of the one-child policy. For one-child families, nothing is more sorrowful than losing the only child. And this post from Sina Weibo, the officers of Chinese PLA bought their posts by corruption, and the soldiers are little emperors. What can we fight with? 2 generals are accused of selling thousands of promotions to young officers. And by the way, that little emperor phrase is how Chinese refer to spoiled children.
Now on U.S. airwaves, a global channel of uncompromising stories. World news, documentaries, entertainment, and culture. Link TV, connecting you to the world. For more information, visit linktv.org.